All right, guys, hope you had a great weekend. A lot to cover as we are entering earnings season right now. So starting off is one name that is not reporting earnings this week, but I've been looking at. It's been consolidating nicely in this little range between 130 and 140 is Nike. And looking at the one-year chart, you can see that it's had some decent consolidation. You just minimize this. So we can see that it's consolidated nicely in this little range between like 125 and 145 or so. Now we're at the bottom end of the range. So I see decent upside to at least 135, possibly even 140. Not a bad play to take on the long side. Look at that for about a month or two out, I would say, to watch it play to fruition. But diving into earnings season now, tomorrow Tesla reports after the bell, and they currently have an expected move of, let me just pull up the option chain so we can look at it right now. So option chain over here. The expected move for Friday is approximately $60 in one direction. So upside would be around 790, downside 670 or so, right? Again, I wouldn't play the same expiration. The best way to play earnings, I find, is if you wait for the earning event to pass by, wait for all the information to come out, and then play it the following day. That's the best time to play it because IV dies down, you have all the information in hand, and you can make a decision then, and you can go, a month or two out if you wanted to, or you can play the same expiration, but the IV is so much lower that premiums just die down, and you can play directionally with a fraction of the risk versus going in with a binary bet, right? So Tesla, again, upside 790, downside 670, and it could obviously go much more than that. It's Tesla, right? They can move $100 in a week easily, right? But that's what the expected move is telling us right now. You can do Iron Condors way out of the money, but again, the asymmetry of risk isn't that great. Like if I were doing this, I might go $100 each way, so like 630 on the downside, selling premium over here if you were to sell this 630 and then buy like the 620, for example. Yeah, it's not even worth it, right? I mean, you're not pulling that much premium overall. And then same thing on the call side, you're going to the 0.05 delta on the call side, and that would take you to right over the 1830 area, short that, long 840. And see, again, it's not really worth it, right? You're getting a credit of like $1, maybe $1.10 or so, maybe about $1.15, and your maximum risk is about $8.85. So it's not really that great overall. I would wait till after earnings and play it afterward if you want to play it. That's tomorrow after market close. Now, looking at other corporations reporting, there's UPS on Tuesday morning, and UPS has an expected move for the week of roughly $9 in one direction. So upside would be around 188, downside would be roughly 170 or so, right? Again, liquidity here isn't as great. Open interest isn't very high for the weekly OPEX, so you might want to go out to the May 21st OPEX over here. Much more liquidity at the round numbers, tighter spreads. Look at the chart right here. Let me just pull it up. You see again, pretty heavy consolidation for the last year, right? It had a nice big move up back in August of last year, and we've seen it kind of stick in this range between like 160-ish and 175 or so. So now we're at the upper end of the range. Nice consolidation. If they have a blowout report, could see it spike again up to around 185, 190 perhaps by this Friday, right? Which is the expected move. I think it's 188 or so is what I said, right? So yeah, but again, you can play it after the report itself. They report on Tuesday morning. So if you wait for the report to come out, if they have a good report and they open flat, then you can take a position on IB decay, right? So IB would die down, and then buy some calls if you wanted to, or a call spread if you wanted to, and trade the upside with some call spreads or put spreads, depending on how the report is, obviously, right? Following that, there is also AMD, which is something I've been following for a while now, right? AMD, I think, is going to have a strong report on console sales, right? So they are in the PS5, right? And I believe the Xbox as well. So they should have pretty good sales this coming quarter, but there have been chip shortages, as we've noted numerous times. Last week, Intel reported, and their report wasn't taken very favorably. They dropped about 6% on Friday. But as you can see, over the last year or so, we consolidated between 75 and 95. more so recently between 75 and 85. This tight range and this type of trading action usually follows a big move in either direction, right? So again, if I go out 2 years, you can see the same kind of pattern playing out on the 2-year chart, where over here it was in a tight range between roughly high end 60 and low end like 45, or even down to like 35 perhaps on that. That's the pullback last March, but not factoring in the March pullback, it was trading between pretty much 60 and 50 or so, right? And this period consolidation occurred from January until July, right? So about 7 months. What happened after that? Nice big burst to the upside, and then it created a new range between 75 and 95, right? Now with this consolidation here since last July or so, right? So we've been in here since pretty much August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, now April. That's 9 months already, right? So that could what could follow is possibly an upshoot to around the 9,500 area. I'm not saying it'll happen right away, but when it does, it should push that 100 area and then establish a new range between probably 95 downside, and upside would be probably 120 or so, right? So a nice $25 wide range. And again, I think this will happen at some point this year. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it could happen due to a seller report, or a share buyback, or a new announcement, for example, of the new chip. I don't know what the news will be, but I do see strong consolidation here, and I do see AMD as being undervalued relative to NVIDIA, right? So keep an eye on AMD. Their expected move for the week is $6 in one direction. So upside from the current price, 89, downside 77. And again, if it goes down to 77, I expect it to test the 75 mark again, which is their support area. That'd be a great spot to go long, obviously, right? Upside, obviously, if they push to 89, at that point in time, I would be inclined to think we're going to see it push to 95 pretty fast, right? That could happen by Friday as well. Obviously, I'm just mentioning the expected moves right now, right? Which is $6 in one direction. So aside from that, this is a very busy earning week. We have the largest corporations in the world reporting in the same week, pretty much. Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, right? They're all reporting the same week, which is pretty rare. Amazon as well, right? So now we have Microsoft. They closed at an all-time high on Friday, 261.59. My target on them this year is at least $300. And for the week ahead on earnings, they report on Tuesday as well. Sorry, it's Tuesday or is it Wednesday? They report on Tuesday after hours, right? So AMD also is Tuesday after hours. Also after hours is Pinterest, Alphabet, Visa, Starbucks. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday we have Boeing, Shopify in the morning before market open. Then after close we have Apple, Facebook, and that's pretty much it. On Thursday, after market close, we have Amazon and Neo and Twitter. And then on Friday morning, we have Exxon Mobil, right? And Chevron as well. So looking at Microsoft, the expected move for this coming Friday is $9 or so in one direction. So upside would be roughly 270. Downside would be roughly 252 or so, right? And again, I expect strong cloud performance out of the company. And my target for end of this year is at least $300. So could see much higher numbers on their EPS and revs and forward guidance as well. And that could propel them higher and higher as well. I mean, Satya Nadella has been doing phenomenally well with the company. Since he joined them, they've gone up a hell of a lot. It's done a lot better than Steve Ballmer did, right? So I love Microsoft, right? Otherwise, looking at Pinterest, so they report as well on Tuesday after close. Pinterest, here's the chart over here. Let me just pull it up one sec. So you can see again, nice consolidation over the past few months between 60 and 85 or so. It's been trading between 60 and 85 the last couple months at least. That's a nice movement up and down. And right now, the expected move for the week ahead is approximately $10 in one direction. So upside 85, downside 65. And we've seen some pretty nice movement in Pinterest the last few months. So I expect it to possibly have a greater than expected move. So maybe $15 up or down. And you can see that 85 mark possibly breached to a new all-time high, or it could come down to around 260. I mean, 60 or so, right? I don't really follow them too much myself, but someone requested it, so I just mentioned it. And they're also reporting this week too, right? Otherwise, we also have Google reporting this week, or Alphabet as they're named, the head corporation, right? And Google is trading near all-time highs right now. Here's the ticker, GOOG, right? 32.18.90. For this coming week, the expected move is roughly 120 bucks in one direction. So upside would be roughly 2440. Downside would be roughly 2200, right? So 2200 would be roughly over here, where they were a couple weeks ago, and upside would be right around here, 2440 or so, above this range right here, right? So keep an eye on that, and also recognize that when Google reports, it'll probably affect Apple and Facebook in advance of their reports too, right? So if you're going to play earnings, you should probably play it right before the actual event itself, not in advance. Otherwise, you might get an adverse reaction to other companies reporting that are in the same sector, right? So for example, whenever Google reports, it usually moves Facebook a fair bit and vice versa, right? So keep an eye on that too. Next up, we have Visa also reporting on Tuesday after close as well, right? Again, also at all-time highs. So one trend I'm noticing here, guys, is that we're trading at all-time highs prior to reports. That could possibly forebode for beats and then falling stock prices, as we saw last quarter, right? Last quarter, if you recall, Amazon beat and fell near all-time highs. Apple beat and fell; they were at all-time highs as well. Facebook beat and fell. Microsoft beat, fell, and then popped back up right after that. AMD beat and fell as well, right? So last quarter, same thing happened, right? This quarter could be the same thing, where we've seen this nice rally already occur, which may be pricing in a nice earning report, right? So Visa at 230 right now. Expected move for the week ahead is, one second, approximately $6.50 in one direction. So upside would be 236.50, downside would be around 224.50 or so, right? Or sorry, 223.50 or so, right? Liquidity for this week isn't as great, so spreads are a little bit wide. But yeah, I'm not sure how well they're going to do, given that people have been sitting at home and not really spending too much money. At least in Canada, that's what's been happening. But as the economy opens up, they should raise their guidance, obviously, going forward, right? So that's Visa right there. Next, we have Starbucks as well. So Starbucks has been getting very lean, closing a lot of their stores that don't have drive-throughs due to COVID, obviously. That's a very smart move on their part. And as a result, they're trading at all-time highs, 117.56 roughly right now. Currently, for the week ahead, they also report on Tuesday after hours. The week ahead, they have an expected move of roughly $5 in one direction. So upside is 123, downside is 112 or so, right? That's for Starbucks. Keep an eye on them as well. But again, remember what I said, right? If you look at all the charts, like, Starbucks, Visa, Google, right? If you look at Microsoft, they're already at all-time highs. So it's possible that these ERs are pricing in a beat, and then you might see a fall after the report itself, right? So that's why I prefer to play the report after the event itself instead of buying it in advance, trading it in a binary fashion. I can buy calls or puts after the event itself, much lower premiums because there's lower volatility, right? And then I have a higher probability profit too, because I understand what they're doing going forward. If they beat EPS and revs and they're raising guidance, that's usually going to forebode for a good quarter ahead. If they fall on that report and you buy them on the dip, that's usually a pretty good setup, right? Next up, we have Boeing on Wednesday morning. I don't follow it myself, but I know a lot of you guys do. So they've been stepping up of late, trading at 238 or so, nowhere near their all-time highs. But right now, their expected move for the week ahead is 238. So about 12 bucks in one direction or so. So upside would be around 250, downside around 226. I don't really have much commentary on Boeing because I don't follow it at all. Shopify also reports on Wednesday morning as well. And they are, in my opinion, one of the most overvalued companies on the market right now. So I'm not bullish on them at all. I think that they're very overpriced and could fall easily 50%. But looking at the current move, expected move for the week ahead, they're expecting a move of roughly, one second, $80 in one direction. So upside would be roughly 1180, downside $1,020 or so, right, on Shopify. That's Wednesday morning, right? So keep in mind, if you are playing that, you want to buy your contracts Tuesday before close, right? Again, I would play it after the event itself because that's a better way to play it. I've found over the years that trading earnings after the event is much better setup wise than buying calls or puts, or call spreads or put spreads prior to the event itself, right? Next up, we also have Aapl, right? So Aapl has been on a tear of late. They're not too far from their all-time highs. They could be the one that perhaps defies the logic that I just said earlier, which is that they're not all at all-time highs. They might actually pop up two new all-time highs on a decent report, right? So for the week ahead on Aapl, they have an expected move of approximately $7 in one direction. So upside is 141, downside would be 127, right? Again, if they push that 141 area, I expect them to push all-time highs this week as well, and exceed the expected move. That's Wednesday night after close, right? So you want to take your trade, prior to close then. But again, I would say wait till the event comes out, trade on Thursday morning or Friday if you wanted to, and you can catch a nice move on Aapl with the information in hand, right? And when the IB dies down as well, right? If you're buying beforehand, you're gambling, right? Next up is Facebook. Only have a few more here, guys, right? So we have Facebook now. Facebook is also not too far from all-time highs either, right? 301.81. I do think they're going to have a less than stellar quarter, but again, it might not matter what I think. Either way, they're expecting moves for the week ahead right now on Facebook are roughly $20 in one direction. So upside would be 320, downside would be roughly 280, right, on Facebook. And 280 would take you right over to here. Right over here or so, and 320 would be right over here, obviously, right? So that's the range of values for the week ahead on Facebook. Again, they report Wednesday after market close, right? Same with Aapl too. Then we also have, following that, we have Neo and Twitter and XOM, and that's it. So, so we have Neo first, right? So Neo, here's our chart. One sec. NIO. So pretty beat up last little while. Good support at 35 area, now at 41 and change. Expected move for the week ahead is approximately $5 in one direction. So upside would be around 46, downside would be around 36 or so, right? So 36 would be red support area, upside would be right around this area right here, just above the resistance area on the 1 month chart, right? Not much commentary from me there as well, because I don't follow Neo too much either, but I know some of you guys trade it, so understand that they could have a much larger move than expected. If Tesla reports well, for example, that could also cause them to move on Monday. So that's why you want to play the event itself right before the actual earning release, right? And given that Neo is reporting on Thursday after close, that's a great setup for an Iron Condor that expires on Friday. So for example, you might go like $10 up and $10 down and build an Iron Condor for the next day expiration. I'll show you how that kind of looks if you want to think about it like this. So let's say, for example, on Neo, you want to do an Iron Condor for Friday, right? So what you would do is you go, way out of the money to roughly the, 0.10 delta. So over here, again, you would sell the 47 strike, for example, right? And then you buy, for example, the 49 strike, right? And then on the put side, do the same thing. So find the 0.1 delta, which would be roughly over here, 36.50 strike, right? Sell that and then buy the 35 strike, right? Not a lot of credit you're receiving. You're receiving about credit of about 35 cents. Maximum risk is 165. So, but again, you achieve maximum profit if Neo stays between 36.50 and 36.50, I guess. Sorry, it should be 36 or sorry, 37. 1 sec. Yeah, so you achieve maximum profit if Neo stays between 37 and between 47, right? But again, you want to wait till Thursday before market close to do this. And again, don't do this unless you actually understand how it works, right? So Iron Condor is where you sell a credit spread on the put side and the call side, and you're betting on it staying between a certain range. In this case, you're betting on it staying between 47 and 37, right? But it has potential to move, above those numbers, obviously, or below 37 as well. So keep that in mind too. Next, we have Twitter, and then XOM, and then we're finished, right? So Twitter right now for the week ahead. The expected move for Friday, and again, they report Thursday night after close. Their expected move is approximately $7 in one direction. So upside would be around 74, downside would be around 60, right? That's Twitter. And lastly, we have XOM. So XOM has been consolidating for the last couple months or so, and nice little consolidation in the range of 55 or so. Let me pull up the chart for you guys to see it. One sec. So here's the 1-year chart. You can see over here, it's been in this little range right now between 55 and 60 or so. And I think that this is kind of setting up for a nice breakout to the upside above 60 again, right? But for the week ahead, XOM has an expected move of about, it's not very big actually, it's only about $2 in one direction. So 57 upside, downside is 53 or so. Again, they report Friday morning, so that would be a 0-day contract if you're trading that contract on the same day expiration, right? Otherwise, not much else to look at this week. That's quite a lot right there alone. This is a good barometer of where we're going to be heading for earnings season. And also, one thing to look at too is analyze how each corporation responds to the report, because typically each earnings season there's a trend where you might see a trend of, for example, underperformance in EPS and revenues, followed by an appreciation in stock price, or a trend of overperformance in EPS and revs, for example. Beating top line and bottom line, raising guidance, and then still falling right in price. That happened last quarter, right? So this could happen again because a lot of these big names are at the top of their charts and they're at all-time highs already. That could be that they've already ran in advance of this information coming out. So names that I kind of like right now are AMD, because it hasn't ran at all for the most part. And XOM obviously because the premiums are pretty low overall, and it's kind of been in this little range as well too. So keep an eye on those, and obviously manage your risk well. Don't take any risks that you might regret later on, right? And don't gamble on earnings, because again, it's very binary, right? Just because you think it's going to beat the report, for example, it could be Apple, could be Facebook, could be Google, it doesn't matter, right? The bottom line is that you don't know how the market's going to respond to certain information, right? And just like last week, we saw Biden come out with the tax hike news, and that shot a lot of people in the foot because the market came down on Thursday and then it popped back on Friday, right? So anything can happen. Oh, one more that I'm missing out on, someone just reminding me right now, is Amazon, right? So Amazon reports as well, and here they are. This is their first quarter since Bezos stepped down. Consolidation has been pretty nicely between the 3,000 and 3,400 area for the past few months. So possibly we see a nice upswing move to around 3,600 or so. The expected move for the week ahead though is right now about $140 in one direction or so. So upside would be roughly 3,500. Downside would be roughly 3,200 or so. All right, I'm going to cut the recording here. If you have any questions at all, drop them below. If you like the video, obviously hit the like button and share with whoever you think would appreciate it. We'll do some Q&A right now, guys, right? So